Today is Friday. Today is Yud Beis Iyar Tov Pei Beis. We began a new Maimer in a new Sefer. Sefer Mamorim Teres Menachem Sefer Mamorim Tov Yud Dalid. And the Maimer we began is the first Mamar Zeh Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha. This day is the beginning of your actions, your creations. As a matter of fact, it's on the same passage and on the same theme that of the Rebbe's last Maimer that we finished in Tov Yud Gimel. And the Rebbe again asked the same question. The Rebbe again asked the same question. How could this be called the beginning of your actions when the 25th of Elul is the beginning of creation, and the Zeh Tchilas Masecha refers to Rosh Hashanah? And question number 2, why indeed they set Rosh Hashanah to be marked on the 6th day, when man was created, rather than on the first day? If it's Tchilas Masecha, then do it on Tchilas Masecha, which is the 25th. So the Rebbe began to explain that Rosh Hashanah is the idea of crowning Hashem as a king. He explained the difference between kingship and rulership, Melucha and Memshala. Memshala could also be, the word Memshala, rulership, doesn't necessarily denote willing rulership, meaning willingness of the people. It could be imposed, right? But king, crowning the king, what happens afterwards, if you're talking about a despotic king, it's a different story. But the crowning of the king is done by the people, which denotes inherently that it's willingly. They want to appoint the king over them, and they go through the process of crowning. So Rosh Hashanah, the idea is that we crown Hashem as a king willingly. We come to Hashem and we ask him, please be the king over us once again. Because that's what we have to do every single year. From when the time of creation, when Hashem was the one that first initiated it, but from that point and forward, that process has to be performed by us. And this idea of crowning Hashem as a king is renewed and awakened every year in Rosh Hashanah anew. And who is the one that crowns the king? Man. The implication being, that's why Rosh Hashanah is on the day man was created, because the process of crowning Hashem as king for the forthcoming year takes place through man, so therefore it's on the day man was created. But then the Rebbe goes on and continues to flesh this out. So we will start from on the first page of the Maimer. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines from the bottom. The line starts with the word he at the full stop. The Inyan Zeh, this idea of crowning Hashem as a king, anew, Chayzer v'neir b'chol shana, repeats itself and is reawakened every year. Sheberosh Hashanah tzarich lahamshich machusi yizborach mechodesh. On Rosh Hashanah we need to draw down Hashem's kingship anew, afresh. K'maimer azal, as the sages say in Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to the Jewish people, Imru lefonei b'Rosh Hashanah malchis. Say before me on Rosh Hashanah verses of kingship. Why? Kedei shetamlichuni aleichem, so that you may make me a king over you. What do we see from here? That the idea of, he's bringing a source in Nigla, in Talmud, that the idea of crowning Hashem as a king takes place in Rosh Hashanah every year. Now, he goes on into a deeper explanation of the word Imru. Imru literally means what? Say. But he brings a pirush of the Alter Rebbe, brings an explanation of the Alter Rebbe, an interpretation of the Alter Rebbe on this word Imru, or pirush Rabbeinu Hazaken, she'imru hu meloshen v'havaya ha'emircha hayom. There is a verse in Parshas Kisavei. The verse in Parshas Kisavei says, Es Hashem he'emarta hayom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are 7 lines from the bottom on the first page by Upirish Rabbeinu Hazaken. The line starts with the word Malchias. Yeah. So the verse in Parshas Kisavei says, Es Hashem he'emarta hayom liyes l'chol le'lekim v'lelechas b'deracha v'lishmer chukav mitzvayis v'mishpat v'lishmer b'kelei v'Hashem he'emircha hayom. Right? These are the verses in Parshas Kisavei. What does it mean? Es Hashem he'emarta hayom, you have selected the Lord this day. And the next verse says, V'Hashem he'emircha hayom, which is translated as the Lord has selected you on this day. So we selected Hashem, and Hashem selected us. However, Rashi, the word he'emarta, he says as follows. The words he'emarta and he'emircha, which are translated here in the verse in English as what? You selected and he selected. We do not find any equivalent expression in scriptures which might give us a clue as to the meaning of these words, he'emarta and he'emircha. However, it appears to me, Rashi says, the expression he'emir denotes separation and distinction. Thus, here the meaning is as follows. From all the pagan deities, you have set apart the Lord for yourself to be your God. And he separated you to him from all the peoples on earth to be his treasured people. That's what Rashi says. Notwithstanding this, says Rashi, I did find a similar expression to He'emir, which denotes glory, as in the verse, how long will all workers of violence praise themselves? Yisamru kol po'alei oven. Again, from He'emir, the same type of word. So the translation of the word Imru lefanei malchiyos means say before me. The Alter Rebbe explains it as meaning praise me. He'emir, praise me. This caused me to be distinct. The Talmud actually fleshes this out even further. It says in Talmud, it says in Brachas, what does it say in Hashem, that Hashem puts on tefillin? What does it say in our tefillin? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. What does it say in Hashem's tefillin? Who is like you, the nation of Israel, the singular nation on earth?
So he praises us and we praise
him. Exactly. He praises us and we praise him. Says the Gemara, is that actually what happens? Does God praise us? And it says yes. V'Hashem he'marta hayom v'Hashem he'mircha. I'm quoting this pasuk. And Rashi over there says he'marta and he'mircha is from the expression of praising, of boasting. Yisamru kol po'alei oven. All actors, all workers of violence praise themselves. They boast in their actions. So in the positive sense, Hashem boasts with us and we boast with him. So it's the idea of praising. Yeah. So he's inserting, the Alter Rebbe inserts this interpretation into the Talmud that says, say before me verses of Malchus on Rosh Hashanah, say before me verses of kingship on Rosh Hashanah, so that I should become a king over you. What's the word for say? Imru. So he says the deeper meaning of the word Imru here is the same thing. Praise me with verses of Malchus. Hainu, which in other words, according to the interpretation of the Alter Rebbe, Shebe Rosh Hashanah tzarich l'shabechu l'fayir inyan ha-malchus. On Rosh Hashanah, it's incumbent on us to praise and to extol the idea of kingship, of Hashem's kingship. Why? That's how we draw down Hashem's desire and Hashem's pleasure in his kingship. Right? When you come to a person, I mean, in simple sense, when you come to a person, just flip it over. Flip it like this, Aris. On the top. No. Just flip it over from the bottom to the top. That's it.
Oh, good. Is that done?
Yeah.
So there's a dalet, yeah?
Hang on a second. Yeah. So now we're going to dalet.
It's a dalet on the top.
We're not up to there yet. Right? So that's the idea of kingship, awakening Hashem's kingship on Rosh Hashanah. How is this accomplished? Who accomplishes this? Praising Hashem as a king and therefore drawing down his desire and his pleasure in being a king and drawing down the divine energy for the whole forthcoming year. The Indians and Nasal Yisrael, this is achieved through the souls of Yidden, Kamishakosov, as the verse says in the Parsha of Bracha, the last Parsha of the entire Torah. Vayihi Bishurun Melech, there was a king in Yeshurun. Yeshurun is another name for the Jewish people. The Jewish people generally have three names: Yaakov, Yisrael, and Yeshurun. Get to that in a second. Yeshurun being the highest expression of the Jewish people at the highest level. So there was a king among Yeshurun when Bihis Asif Rashi when the heads of the people gathered, Yachad Shifte Yisrael, and all the tribes of Israel were together. So in other words, what do we see from this verse? That when is kingship achieved? When everybody gets together. When does that happen? Hainu, she'inyan ha-malchus, the idea of kingship, vahi b'shurun melech, that there should be a king among Yeshurun, among the Jewish people. Nasel b'sasif rosh yom dafket, specifically when the heads of the people get together. In other words, who are the heads of the people? Shehem neshamas Yisrael. We're talking about the souls of Yidden. And in what manner do they gather together? In a manner that all the tribes of Israel are together. Shekol b'nei Yisrael, all the children of Israel, which is the parsha we always read before Rosh Hashanah. Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people, you are standing today, all together, Lifnei Hashem Lekechem, before Hashem, Roshechem Shiftechem, the heads of your tribes, and he enumerates 10 different sections in descending order from the heads of the tribes, until the wood choppers and the water drawers. Which means to say that all of you are standing together from the top to the bottom, and you're standing together, united, fused as one. The Zohar says, when it says Hayom, it's a reference to Rosh Hashanah, even though Pashas Nitzavim was said on the day Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. But the fact that we read it on the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah is interpreted as meaning that this is a reference to Rosh Hashanah as well. So you are standing all together before Hashem, from the heads of your people, all the way through all the 10 levels, until the wood choppers and the water carriers. What does that mean?
Why is it Shavuos then? If it's they're standing in front, because I thought that from that parsha was just those standing before they got the Torah.
That's true, but we're talking about here the idea of crowning Hashem as king. That happens on Rosh Hashanah, and that also necessitates. You're right. When they stood before Sinai, it was
Shavuos.
All of them together, as one people with one heart. Yes, there was Achdus there as well, but that wasn't the idea of Malchus accepting Hashem as king.
Malchus is Rosh Hashanah.
That's Rosh Hashanah, and that necessitates this idea of Yachad, also everybody being together as one to draw down Hashem's kingship. So they stand in a manner of everybody together, from the highest levels to the lowest levels, on page Daled now. In other words, Heim B'Hiskalus, all these 10 levels are all intermingled with each other. There's no delineation of separation. V'hainu, which means to say, not that everybody is equal. Not suddenly everybody became a head of the tribes, and not suddenly the head of the tribes became a wood chopper. No. As the Talmud says in Brachos, that generally speaking, no two opinions are the same, and no two faces are the same. Everybody's different, and this is also the case. That continues. So what happens on Rosh Hashanah that causes this achdus, this unity, and this intermingling of everybody together, which brings about the drawing down of Hashem's kingdom? Notwithstanding their differences, everybody is intermingled together. How? How is that accomplished, this intermingling? Through the fact everybody is united and focused on one point, to accept Hashem's king, the yoke of Hashem's kingship, willingly. And that aspect is equal from the highest level of Jew to the lowest level of Jew on Rosh Hashanah. Particularly says that Abu Bifrat, especially since the acceptance of Hashem's yoke comes from where on Rosh Hashanah? From the very depths of the soul, from the highest, deepest level of each and every individual soul. This is one of the differences between the accepting of Hashem's yoke the entire year and accepting Hashem's yoke on Rosh Hashanah. Every day of the year we have to accept Hashem's oil, the yoke. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What are we doing? We accept the yoke of heaven. So what's on Rosh Hashanah? On Rosh Hashanah, it's from the very deepest aspect of the soul, from the very essence of the soul. That's where the intermingling takes place. Because where are the differences between people? In the manifestations of the soul, in the revelations of the soul, in the seichel, in the midas, in the actions. Those are all revealed aspects of the soul. The deeper and higher you go into the soul, if you go to the very essence of the soul, we're all equal. So since the Kabbalah Soil, the acceptance of Hashem's yoke on Rosh Hashanah, comes from the very depths of the neshama, there everybody is basically united as one. Okay, we'll stop here, we'll continue Mitzvah Hashem.
Amazing. Very
beautiful. When are we going to continue? Sunday? Not likely,
I'm away for a week from...
What?
Yeah, no way.
So Monday morning Mitzvah Hashem. Harris? Monday morning Mitzvah Hashem.